Hello and welcome to Session 1. This session will cover the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, known as SGMA, as well as provide an overview of the Groundwater Sustainability Plan and its purpose. So let's start from the beginning. SGMA was signed into law by Governor Brown in 2014. The law's purpose and objective is to ensure long-term reliability of groundwater resources. It requires sustainable management of groundwater basins by what are called Groundwater Sustainability Agencies, or GSAs. So GSAs are local entities whose sole purpose is to manage groundwater in accordance with this new law. And over 260 GSAs were formed in response to SGMA in the state of California. So the North Fork Kings GSA is one of those agencies. So really, SGMA was adopted to avoid what the law refers to as undesirable results caused by overpumping of groundwater resources, or groundwater overdraft. These undesirable results are declining groundwater levels, declining groundwater storage, degraded water quality, impacts to surface water that's interconnected to groundwater, as well as land subsidence. So SGMA really started taking shape when local GSAs formed. The North Fork Kings GSA formed in 2016. And the first task at hand is the development of a Groundwater Sustainability Plan, also known as a GSP. And that's where we are now. The GSP is the roadmap to sustainability. Right when the GSP is submitted, it's up to the GSA to begin implementing the plan. And the SGMA mandates that we achieve groundwater sustainability in 2040. Again, here is another look at the milestones that SGMA outlines. So I wanted to focus in on the January 2020 deadline to highlight a few dates. So the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, as I mentioned, is due in January, but we are currently going through a review process before that occurs and is submitted. So the GSP was released and made available to the public on July 17th for a 90-day public review period. So comments are due on October 21st, and the board will consider adoption of the GSP at a public hearing scheduled to take place on October 23rd. So the GSP is available on our website at northforkkings.org/GSP comment. You can also find more information on the different ways to comment at our website. So what happens if a local GSA does not comply with SGMA? If we don't take care of things here locally, the state will place the GSA on probationary status. So the state can and will step in to implement the law for us. They have indicated this would mean fees for groundwater pumping at a higher cost to landowners and without any benefits of local project development that come along with implementation by your local GSA. So a GSA can do a number of things to help achieve sustainability. So some of those authorities include conduct studies, register and monitor wells, set well spacing requirements, require groundwater extraction reporting, regulate groundwater extractions, implement capital projects like recharge basins, and assess fees to cover costs. So on this slide, you see a map of the GSAs that are within the Kings Subbasin. So the North Fork Kings GSA is located within the Kings Groundwater Subbasin. We're one of the 7 who are coordinating to achieve sustainability. The subbasin is considered by the state as a high priority and critically overdrafted subbasin, so that means our timeline for submitting a GSP is accelerated. So each of the GSAs within the subbasin are preparing their own GSPs but all must coordinate to achieve sub-basin-wide sustainability. In fact, the law requires that if GSAs within the same sub-basin have decided to submit individual groundwater sustainability plans, there must be a formal coordination agreement in place at the time that the GSPs are submitted. So the North Fork Kings GSA was formed through special act legislation, as I mentioned earlier, in 2016. The agency is made up of 7 divisions representing a combination of mutual water companies, public agencies, irrigation districts, as well as non-districted lands in Fresno County. So there's a seat on the board. Also wanted to note for the communities of Layton, Lanier, and Riverdale, listed there as Division 3. So on this slide, you'll see the representatives for each of those agencies. Just some groundwater trends in the Kings Subbasin over time. You'll notice that the Kings Subbasin is in a state of groundwater overdraft. So yeah, decline in groundwater has been occurring in the subbasin. And through the Kings coordinated effort, those 7 GSAs coordinated to calculate an estimated overall overdraft for the subbasin, and they found that to be 122,000 acre-feet per year. So through that coordination effort, an initial responsibility of that total amount of overdraft was assigned to each GSA. So the requirement of the GSP is that we must be consistent with other GSAs in the Kings Subbasin through a coordination agreement. We also must coordinate with adjacent subbasins, so subbasins that surround the Kings, Madera, Westside, Tulare Lake. We need to implement projects and management actions, which there are more details on in the Session 4 video. We are required to monitor groundwater conditions, and along with that comes data management. Monitoring reports must be included in annual reports to the Department of Water Resources, and the GSP itself has to be updated every 5 years for submittal over the implementation timeline, so through January 2040. So what does the Groundwater Sustainability Plan do, or what's in the plan? So it documents current and historical groundwater conditions. This includes groundwater levels, groundwater quality, and water budgets, so tracking inputs and outputs. And it also defines an initial path to sustainability. So the plan has been prepared according to the best available information, but it's important to note that data gaps still exist. So as data gaps are filled and we have more information, the plan will be updated accordingly. So this plan identifies measurable objectives and minimum thresholds. It identifies projects to increase water supply, and it also includes potential management actions that may be implemented in order to reduce groundwater demand. We also wanted to cover what the GSP does not do. So the plan does not require immediate pumping restrictions. It does not require changes to crops or land use changes, and it does not require mandatory land fallowing. But please note that subsequent GSP updates may require any or all of these depending on the progress that's made as we do the 5-year updates to the Groundwater Sustainability Plan. This is the outline of the GSP chapters. A robust outline can be found on our website, northforkkings.org. The outline generally follows what was recommended by the California Department of Water Resources. It's broken down into a number of topics, each of which are covered in the next 3 session video recordings.